May the 4th be with you, everyone. Happy Star Wars Day, the day that we nerds decided we should just celebrate Star Wars.
Exactly.
And this is a very special May the 4th because it is the first one since the release of the new Star Wars movies.
That
the
is
first
true.
one since The Force Awakens has come out. Yeah. And so we got talking, Jim and I got talking in the office about how this means there's going to be a new generation of Star Wars fans who this is going to be their point of introduction.
Yeah.
They are always going to have the perspective that, Kylo Ren is the son of Han and Leia, that, Luke is off in the middle of nowhere doing something. We'll probably know within the next few years what he's been up to. But it did get us talking about how we both sort of have different vantage points into the Star Wars franchise. I grew up with the prequels coming out when I was a young kid. You came out when you still had some time to wait until the prequels came out. You really had time to dive into what the original trilogy was. So why don't you talk a little bit about what it's been like for you?
There's certainly, obviously generational difference. I was 4 years old when the first Star Wars movie came out. And you just called it Star Wars. And we didn't have a New Hope back then. So for me, it just blew me away. I still remember, it's one of my earliest memories, just being in the theater and the music and that first, and my life has never been the same since. Literally, I probably would not be sitting here right now, especially working at IGN, if it wasn't for Star Wars. And so as a child, you
accept it. You
accept
this
it. This is a whole new thing. You didn't, science fiction really wasn't like a huge mainstream kind of thing, and pop culture was still sort of, there was stuff for geeks, and then, it didn't become like a mainstream thing yet. And so your vantage point for Star Wars was through the, original movies and through the toys and occasional TV stuff like the holiday special, Ewok TV movies, things that you would find bootleg at conventions.
And like the gradual expansion of the expanded universe.
In the comics too, like those old Star Wars Marvel comics were great. So like to fill in blanks in the story and stuff, you turn to these other sources, but a lot of it ultimately was in your head what you wanted it to be, like Clone Wars. I don't know.
Exactly. That's something we were talking about because I grew up, I had seen all the original Star Wars movies before the prequels came out, but I was still at a young age that when I found out that, apparently midichlorians make up the Force, I was like, yeah, sure, that makes sense. Whereas I think a lot of other people might have been rolling their eyes.
Yeah, the demystification of Star Wars that happened with the prequels and sort of the explaining of things.
That was just what I accepted growing up, that this was the truth of the universe instead of having those more mysterious elements to it.
And there was also, too, like the sense of mystery was something that really defined early Star Wars, like Yoda saying there is another and things like that, that there was still, you had to wait for the answers and all that, and it was, in hindsight, it was very exciting to not know, Darth was Luke's father and have that be a surprise. And so for your generation and now for like my little niece's generation coming into it through, I guess through Rebels a little bit or through Force Awakens more so in her case, she's 6. So, it's coming into a world where Star Wars has always existed and these characters and their relationships have kind of already been defined for you. So like you're looking at the prequels, that's your Star Wars growing up, and you're seeing Anakin Skywalker, and to me, I'm thinking, well,
that's Luke's dad. To me,
there's
I'm like,
Luke's dad. There's Darth Vader. I'm waiting for Darth Vader, kind of thing. Yeah. So, and for you, it's watching Force Awakens. I mean,
to me, the big mystery was and I think it was for a lot of people, but how did we get to a place where he turned into Anakin Skywalker? But it was, for me, piecing the puzzle together as, we find out how Padme named them Luke and Leia, and moments like that. It was something that I still very much accepted, and I think, maybe if I was the age I am now when I was watching those, I might have pushed back against some of those things. But I think it is really interesting. You're talking about, like, for me, there was no big reveal that, Darth Vader is Luke's father, that was just such a part of pop culture.
Right.
And now there was a big reveal that we all sort of saw coming, that Kylo
Force,
Ren, that Kylo Ren is the son of Han and Luke, and then that Kylo Ren...
Han and Leia.
Oh, Han and Leia, Han and Luke. That's a different movie. And then that Kylo Ren...
episode 8's about.
And then that Kylo Ren killed his father. Like, those were huge moments. But now, for people that's their first Star Wars movie, that's really the basis. And they're
Han
going
Solo
to be
is
going
always
back.
Going to be Kylo Ren's dad.
Yeah, and they're really, when they go back and watch, the original trilogy and see all those characters together, they're going to be seeing them from the vantage point of maybe having been introduced to them the first time now. And also looking ahead, like, this is the first year since we've had a new Star Wars movie, but we're going to have a new Star Wars movie every year forever.
I mean, even with Rogue One now, that could be, somebody else's first introduction to the Star Wars, so they're going to, they'll have it characters that they might not get more information on. We'll have to see. But yeah, it is interesting to have those different vantage points of how you view these characters. Like Luke Skywalker now, for a generation, will be what Obi-Wan was for me, the kind of grizzled old mentor, the one, or even Yoda in a way was, and
hopefully the Han Solo origin movie doesn't do to Han Solo what Phantom Menace did.
I know,
did to Darth Vader.
Faith in Lord and Miller so far, though.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see sort of what new sort of ways the Star Wars sort of, how much mystery will be left, because it does seem to be still very much defined by the Skywalker and the dark sides effect on them, which when I was growing up, that wasn't the story. The story was about a farm boy who becomes a hero. It was about Luke Skywalker, and it became about these
now
other
it's like
things.
the dark side shadow across this family throughout generations. I am very curious to see what, these are the mysteries for us, how Han Solo grew up, etc. But I'm curious to see what the new mysteries are going to be going forward, especially as we're moving into the future with a lot of these movies instead of just catching up to the past.
The seedy past of BB-8. I think we all know.
We all know it's coming inevitably, and to be honest, I'm a little bit excited for it. Anyway, so those were our thoughts on sort of this idea of a new generation's entry point into Star Wars. We want to hear from you. What were your first memories of Star Wars? What was the movie that got you in? And do you have anyone who's part of this younger generation where The Force Awakens is the first movie that they've seen in the Star Wars franchise? So let us know on Twitter. Jim, you're at Jim Veda. I'm at Terri_Schwartz. And for all things Star Wars, keep it here at IGN. May the Force be with you.